Sore as a bitch. If your homeboy or homegirl don't smoke or drink, don't ask them why. And if you're gonna ask them why, let it be because you're genuinely curious and not because you're trying to talk them into doing the shit just because you like doing it. If it worked for you, great. Keep doing that shit. But don't be trying to coax other people that don't do some shit into doing it just because you swear by it. You live your life, let them live theirs. Stop judging motherfuckers because they don't live their life the same way you live yours. You should know that, but you know. I don't put shit past y'all no more. Been a minute since I did one of these, but considering the shit I've been thinking about for the past couple hours or so, figured it was about that time. I got some more shit to say. I spend a lot of time thinking about life, which is honestly something I wish more people did, because if they did, they'd be a lot less confused about how to handle shit and the way that it happens. But the shit I've been thinking about today is the generational gap and the different ways of thinking that comes with said generational gap. The older generations tend to think now that the young people just don't want to work. We just lazy and entitled, and we just want everything handed to us and this and that. And that is the case for some of y'all. Some of y'all just some bitch ass niggas, and y'all just want everybody to give you some shit. And when somebody can't give you some shit, you mad like somebody did something to you, when in actuality, you just ain't worth nothing. You have no value and you haven't earned anything, and for some reason you want to make that somebody else's fault. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about those of us who legitimately want shit and we legitimately want to make something of ourselves. It used to be a point in time where if you really wanted to become really successful, there was really only a couple of ways to do that. Number one, you could have an outstanding talent, whether it be dancing, singing, having the ability to become a professional athlete at some point in your life. There was a time where you could either go that route because you were equipped to, or because you were actively practicing to become that, or you had to go to school, get a degree, study law, study medicine, get your degree, and then you could have that prestigious career after you get out of school. Nowadays, people are making millions of dollars a year making YouTube videos, playing Fortnite and shit, Call of Duty, tens of thousands of dollars a month, minimum, playing video games. And that's just one way to make money now. That was not available to people back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. People always talk about, well, I say people, the kind of people I'm referring to that say young people are lazy and all of this and that. These are the same people that say, when I was 25, I had a house, I had 3 cars, I had 6 dogs, 9 goldfish, and a partridge in a pear tree. All this bullshit. That's awesome. Motherfuckers act like houses in 2023 have the exact same value that they did in 1973. A nice house in a nice neighborhood nowadays, and obviously it's give or take depending on where you live, it's gonna cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. There was a point in time when you could buy these same houses, or these same kinds of houses, and they cost you like 50, 60,000. But for some reason that skips over the mind of the people who just wanna take shots at the younger generation now. Like I said, there's plenty of young people that don't want to work. They really do hate the thought of having to go to work. Well, our parents hated the thought of having to go to work too. They soldiered through that shit, and they made that shit happen because they knew that was what the fuck had to happen. But the world is a lot more open now as far as the ways that you can make income. There is an insurmountable amount of sources of income. It's astronomical the amount of shit you can do and make money for it now. It used to be a point in time you had to work for a place that delivered food and shit. You had to work for Domino's. You had to work for Pizza Hut, for Papa John's. Now, motherfuckers can deliver your McDonald's in they drawers if they want to and make money for that shit, bro. Do you know how much money niggas is making off DoorDash in like California and New York and places like that? Nigga, alright, you look into it, fuck it, whatever. Shit costs way more nowadays than it ever has because, you know, inflation exists. It's always existed, so I don't know why the fuck people be forgetting this shit. But you know, whatever. These same motherfuckers is talking about they had all of this shit by the time they was 25. There was also a point in time where you could get a bottle of Coke for a dime. Ain't like that no more either, is it? It's crazy the type of shit you have to remind people of. It's obvious. Like we know this shit. They know it. It's just for some reason people are quicker to criticize than they are to think. They want to talk about you for what they think you're not doing before they talk about the shit that they didn't take into consideration before they started talking in the first place. That's what the fuck you're supposed to do. You're supposed to think, then talk. But a lot of people do that shit backwards. But like I said, I ain't putting shit past nobody. I don't trust nobody. Everybody's stupid. I'm just playing. That's dramatic, obviously. But it used to be a time where in order for you to become the boss at any place, you had to be deserving of that position. You had to earn it, legitimately earn it, and be more deserving of that position than anybody else that could have been in contention for that position. Nowadays, a lot of these bosses and managers at these places that people be working at are less qualified to be there than their least competent employee. The worst employee in the building is more qualified than some of these fucking bosses are. Some of these managers and shit, they ain't worth nothing. They got that position off the strength that they know somebody who just handed them that promotion, just handed them that position. There's a lot of instances of somebody being overlooked, having someone else chosen over them for a position that they were way more deserving of. But more so nowadays than ever, it seems like, if I had to guess, I would be willing to bet a pretty good amount of money that nowadays motherfuckers get put in positions more often that they should not have been in because they didn't fucking deserve it, as opposed to how shit might have been 40, 50, 60 years ago. Motherfuckers are just sorry. They just want to be able to go somewhere and say, I'm the boss at this place. I'm the manager at this place. Terrible fucking people. They've been terrible people. They were a shitty employee. They were a shitty coworker. And now they're about to be an even shittier boss. And people let this shit ride. There are plenty of young people that don't want to do shit. They do want to have everything handed to them. They don't want to have to work for nothing. Shit, it's a lot of old people that don't want to have to work too. Older people, excuse me. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just trying to call everybody that's not 25 and below old, because that's not the fucking case. People weird. That's a whole nother conversation. But the climate of the work environments are much different now than they used to be. The younger generation is just starting to take notice of that. Jobs were more structured. There was a certain flow to shit that is absent nowadays, if I had to guess. Because I would love to think it was way better at some point than it is right now. Nowadays, you go to a job and the motherfuckers that are there are mad that they gotta train you. So much to the point now, it's a lot of jobs that just don't even fucking train you. They just throw you in that bitch and just say, well, figure it out. And if you fuck up, well, we just gonna look at you like you fucking stupid and act like it's your fault, even though there's a building full of people in here that's supposed to be training you, that could be training you, that could be helping you, but we just gonna look at you like you fucking retarded because we'd rather do that than actively help you learn how to do the job. So we don't have to look at you like that. It's weird. I actually had this talk with my mom recently, and it was, the thing I love about my mom is how modest she is. It's how humble and understanding she is. Like, she admitted that she hadn't really thought about the fact that we no longer live in a world where if you get a call about a job at some factory or some warehouse or something that's paying $18 an hour and you don't take it, you'll probably never get that kind of job offer again. We don't live in that world no more. The entire world, as it is in our hands. Just off this fucking cell phone now. Used to be a point in time where you had a cell phone because you wanted to be able to call somebody when you weren't at the crib. Now, you have access to see everything that's going on in the world. Obviously not everything. You can't see confidential shit. You can't see every single thing that's happening in every single place. But bro, if some shit happened in New Zealand right now, and it's like prominent shit, and it ends up on some news outlet and somebody shares it. My black ass, living down here in Alabama, can see that shit. Nigga, in order for you to know what was going on in New Zealand back in the early to mid 1900s, you had to be over that bitch. You had to get a motherfucking telegram from somebody over there, something like that. You couldn't just pull your phone out your pocket and go to Google and just type in New Zealand and see some shit that just happened 6 hours ago. When people made the internet, kind of getting away from cell phones, but I mean, the internet is on the fucking cell phone. It's every fucking where. The internet is everything, basically. They knew how much they were about to revolutionize and change the world as it is. And now here we are, decades later. You see how different shit is. Bro, we live in a world where you can drop your car off at Target and charge the bitch. Niggas is plugging their cars up to charging stations like Game Boy Advances, my nigga. Who was plugging their car up in 1961? I'm just saying that shit to say, bro, the world has changed so much more than still a lot of people don't realize how much this world has changed. There are so many different ways to make money now. And the younger generation now, we're coming up, my generation and the generation before me, we're coming up in a time where it's constantly in our faces how much we can change our own lives by working to become our own bosses, honing our own set of skills and making that shit lucrative for ourselves as opposed to punching somebody else's clock for the rest of our lives, living a miserable life. I will never, at this point in my life, I will never again try to tell somebody what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to feel about it unless it's just some obvious shit. Like, don't lay out in the middle of the road and expect not to get run the fuck over. I don't really think I should have to tell you that shit, but I'm not about to tell somebody to stay at a job that they hate. That doesn't make any fucking sense because the older generation, some people from the older generation would be inclined to tell us, I don't give a fuck how much you hate that job. I hated my job for 30 years, but I did it every week for 30 years because I had to pay the bills. Okay? Well, you can tell your son, your daughter, your nieces, your nephews, your little cousins, you can tell them to do that. But when you at their fucking funeral because they blew their own fucking head off to shut off the noise, you can deal with that because they following your advice, following your example because you told them to be miserable by choice when they could have made a better life that they would like to have. Unfortunately, for y'all that are just so accustomed to being miserable that you don't know nothing else, it is very possible to have a job and or a career that you love. And obviously, even that's not going to be perfect. The quote unquote perfect job is still going to be shit you hate about it, but it's still some shit that you're willing to pour yourself into because it's worth it to you. It's not so taxing and damaging to your psyche that when you're not even there, just the fact that this is the way that you make money and pay your bills is completely draining you. Imagine knowing you going home, ladies, and guys, listen to this too, because you'll understand what the fuck I'm saying, but just specify this for the ladies. I hate if anybody's in this situation right now. Get out. But imagine knowing every single day you got to go home to a man that's going to beat your ass. Even when you're not there, you have to worry about what's going to happen when you get there. You know it's going to be some bad shit. It's just a matter of time. Why would you willingly live your life like that? Get out. When that nigga go to work, get all your shit together, find some motherfuckers that will help you. Find a motherfucker with a truck, or however you got to get some money for a U-Haul, something. Get the fuck out. And if they sick enough to be beating you like that, they sick enough to hunt you down. So man, I don't go as far away as you can. If they know too many motherfuckers that you know, it's gonna be too easy to come track you the fuck down. Get the fuck out. I don't know where to go somewhere. Go to a place that you ain't never been before. Even if it's just 45 minutes away, somewhere where that motherfucker will not even think to come find you. There's ways that don't ever think you trapped. I had to say that because motherfuckers end up in terrible situations. I'm still probably not gonna say everything I want to say, but if you're gonna take anything from this video, dog, Understand, the world is not the same place it used to be. Motherfuckers don't give a fuck about that piece of paper that say you went to this institution and you studied this. They care about knowing that you can do the job. Motherfuckers care way more about experience nowadays than they care about educational level. It matters to some degree, but not enough to disqualify you. Out at a lot of places where most people are gonna be trying to work. Get out of that one-dimensional state of mind where you just supposed to go somewhere and just suffer through some bullshit because it pays the bills. You can find some shit that pays the bills that doesn't make you want to blow your own fucking head off. And if you just sensitive to the world as it is and you need therapy and every single little inconvenience just destroys you, okay, well, you need to figure that out on your own. Because some of y'all jobs ain't even that fucking bad. Y'all just making the shit worse than it is and bitching and complaining. And the amount of complaining that you're doing is heavily outweighing the amount of work you putting in. So it's just like, is the job really that bad, or are you just a shitty employee? Because that's the case for some of y'all. Like I said, I ain't making excuses for everybody. I just want motherfuckers to think. Stop thinking that the only reason somebody ain't doing something is because they sorry as fucking they don't want to. We're coming up in a world where it's right in our faces how much different this shit is and how much of a change we can make if we really want to, how much better of a life we can create for ourselves if we want to. We got access to shit now and options to do certain things now that motherfuckers didn't have in the 70s and the 80s growing up, even in the 90s. Shit way different. Motherfuckers can make money doing all kinds of shit. You get on the laptop and put your own clothing brand together, nigga. You can become one of the most well-known personal trainers this world has ever seen. Training celebrities, it's all kinds of shit you can strive to do. If I sat here and went through all this shit, bro, this would be a fucking 3-hour video. I ain't on this bitch to shoot no documentary. I'm just trying to get the motherfucking point across. So if you stuck around, appreciate you. If you didn't, well, I'm not surprised because most of y'all motherfuckers got the attention span of a fucking parking space, and I don't expect you to listen to shit anyway. Anybody talk longer than 15 seconds, y'all motherfuckers think they doing too much, but this is why you're so fucking simple as it is. But hey, who the fuck am I, yo? Just a nigga with a camera. Do what you gotta do.